This much gold puts you in the top 1%. Is that you? Now, the average gold holder tends to hold around 5 to 10% of gold in their portfolio. However, the top 1% hold 160 ounces per person, or the equivalent to 5 kilograms of gold. I mean, that's an incredible amount when we look at the top 1%. However, we know that you do not buy gold with the intention of getting rich. You actually buy gold with the intention of not becoming poor. Now, everyone's investment goals are individual to each person. It depends on your own financial circumstances and your particular goals that you have for the future plan of your own portfolio. Now, when we look at the historic value of gold, we can see that gold has increased in 20 years by 583%. Well, if we want to get really specific, 583.56%. That's a low of £210 per troy ounce to a high previously when this data was taken of £1,635 per ounce. Credit Suisse report that 47.8% of the entire world's wealth is in the hands of 1.2% of the population. Now, if we look at that in comparison to gold for the top 1.2%, that is an astonishing 6,715,455,039 troy ounces of gold. Now, that's plenty to go around. There's 7.94 billion people on Earth, so if we average that out, that is actually 0.845 ounces of gold available to every single person on Earth. So, when we refer back to our original title of this video regarding, are you in the top 1%? Are you gold rich? Well, it's a real difficult one to answer. We can see that from the statistics and the data that's reported by Credit Suisse, the top 1% hold a majority shareholding value, if you like, in gold bullion. We can look at the top 1% figures again. They're saying that they hold roughly 160 ounces of gold bullion per person. That's the equivalent to 5 kilograms. When we look at a kilo of 24 karat gold bullion, maybe a Valcambi bar, for example, you're looking at around £60,000 purchase price or so. So we're looking at some very big figures. So for you to become a top 1% gold holder, you've got to be extremely wealthy, and it's looking like you need to hold around 160 ounces of gold bullion, or the equivalent of 5 kilograms. So the short answer is probably not. You're probably not in the top 1%. However, you may be in the top 10%. Now, I know there's a lot of extremely wealthy people out there that do not like gold. Mark Cuban is one of those people, a very well-known social media billionaire. He's actually said, if you invest in gold, you are dumb as bleep. I'm not going to say that because I'm trying to keep very censored here on the channel. But it's interesting, isn't it? He's easily able to become in the top 1%, but he doesn't believe in gold. I mean, that's at least what he's telling us. What he says and what he does are maybe two different things. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because if I was personally a billionaire and I had that level of capital to invest and protect my wealth, you're damn sure I'm going to be putting enough to be in the 1% of gold holders in the world. That would be 160 ounces. To a billionaire, that is absolutely nothing. In regards to our own personal goals and situation in our portfolio, whether you're investing in the S&P 500, the FTSE 100, passive income, investment buy-to-let properties or HMOs, there are so many different investment and vehicles which can total up your portfolio to be a very healthy and wealthy balance. It's not all about gold bullion. it's about having diversification in your investment portfolio. Now, I have been investing for nearly 5 years, but more so the last 3 years, I were much more heavily focused on building my financial knowledge and wealth. And I've learned that in the long run, trying to get rich quick, trying to get in those top 1% figures is just not realistic. I'm looking at playing the long game on a long-term low-risk strategy, and I feel that's how most precious metals and commodity investors look to plan their portfolio, especially if you've got time on your side. I mean, even if you're in your mid to late 20s, 30s, and even 40s, you've still got so much time to preserve your wealth in gold bullion. I mean, gold averagely goes up, around 9% off of the top of my head from previous data every single year. So even if you're 50, 55, 60, you could still theoretically buy an ounce of gold and look at that value of that increase by 9% every year. Now, of course, that doesn't account for the true rate of inflation, but when we adjust for that, it's probably more realistic to say you're going to get a 6% yield on your investment in gold bullion. Now, a lot of people don't like that word being thrown into precious metals investment, but for me, I honestly like to use that word, because what else am I doing with my money? If I don't put it in gold bullion and I spend it on an item of clothing or a takeaway, that money certainly isn't invested. It's technically a liability because it's taken money out of my pocket. So by putting money into precious metals, whether it's not yielding me any passive income or dividends, I still consider it an investment because I'm preserving my wealth and I'm hedging against inflation. And I still feel like gold is such a fun investment to do. Yes, it's the backbone of my portfolio, and I feel it's the protection device against all of my investment vehicles, whether the S&P or the FTSE fails, the US economy tumbles, or the UK economy tumbles, or my property, the economy crashes. I feel so secure with gold bullion as a long-term wealth preservation investment. It really is going to protect my wealth over this long-term period, and in the meantime, it's going to increase in value incrementally like we've just talked about, so it's going to yield you some nice results, therefore making it a good investment. Not only that, but we got to touch on some of the fantastic features of gold. It's extremely liquid, it's tangible, so you own it, you're in complete control. It's very good for being untraceable. It's not on the system, it's not like CBDCs, or you could argue to a degree cryptocurrencies, because it's in a digital world and it's elements of data tracking there, whereas it's a tangible asset, it's something you own. And yes, you could consider that as a real old-fashioned investment. I think going back even 10 years or so before precious metals really took off in the sort of social media community, especially YouTube, I think if you had have asked a general person, they would have said gold is an old man's investment. It's a traditional investment that the rich and the elite and the old invest in. But as we move forward in time, thanks to social media and things are becoming easier to become aware of, I think we're seeing a much more popular demand in the younger generations going forward by adding gold to their investment portfolio. I think previously you would have looked at digital things, the tech sector, maybe property, and maybe gold may have been forgotten about. So it's really nice to know that whether you're in the top 1% or not, more people are investing in gold bullion. And if you're an investor in gold bullion, that can't be a bad thing, because it proves that gold is a strong investment, that more people are investing in it, and it will only help protect it and increase its value. Irregardless whether you're in the top 1% of gold holders or not, the fact that you possibly own some or are looking to own some is a fantastic step in the right direction. Whether it's a 1 gram gold bar or a 1 ounce gold Britannia, it doesn't matter. You're making the step in the right direction to bettering your financial future, and that is what's important. Thank you very much for watching. This has been a video on, are you in the top 1% of gold holders, and are you gold rich, essentially, with a great breakdown of statistics and facts to really give some factual evidence behind that. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have, please consider liking the video, subscribing if you're not already a subscriber of the channel at Future Investments. And if you really enjoyed the content and you want to see more behind the scenes exclusive videos, or for your chance to be entered into gold and silver prize giveaways every single month, all you got to do is click the join button on the channel membership, which is in the description below. You can click that link and become a premium future investor today and enjoy all of the exclusive benefits. So thank you very much for watching. It's been Future Investments, and I look forward to seeing you all in the very next episode.